By the way, every time we open up lesson page, you may notice that title and description are the same for all lessons. So to fix this issue, we're gonna have to fetch lesson by /, from the address line whenever user opens up lesson page. And the component responsible for showing lesson page is called lesson slug enclosed in square brackets. This is the syntax for specifying dynamic segments in the URL. So let's open up this component in the editor, and right here I'm going to add script section, since we're gonna have to add some logic in here to fetch lesson from the store. I'm going to get all necessary variables at the beginning of this script, such as current route object, playlist store, as well as lessons store. And the first thing we're gonna do in here is we're gonna fetch playlist object by using that slug from the address bar. So let's reference get playlist by slug function from the playlist store, which accepts current playlist slug, which we can extract from the current URL. At the same time, I'm going to cast this value to string to avoid any TypeScript errors. And down here, let's check if playlist has not been found. We're going to throw an error. Let's create the error object by using create error function with the following parameters. The error code would be 404. In the message, we'll say playlist not found. Next one, let's fetch lesson from the store. In this case, we're gonna call get lesson by slug, since we're gonna fetch lesson by slug just like playlist. But in this case, this function is not defined yet. So for now, let's just pass lesson slug that we can extract from the current URL. At the same time, let's cast it to string. And now open up lesson store and define this function. By the way, this function will be pretty similar to the same function which is inside playlists. So I'm going to take implementation of this function from here and paste it into lesson store. But in this case, the function will be called get lesson by slug. And let's replace all mentions of playlists with lessons, like so. And in order to use this function from outside of this store, we also have to include its name in this object that we are returning. Now back to the lesson page component, and down here let's check if the lesson has not been found, or the lesson of the found ID is not actually included in the array of lesson identifiers of the current playlist. In both of those cases, we're gonna have to throw an error. So let's grab this statement to throw the error by calling create error function, but slightly modify this description. Let's say lesson not found in this case. And this way, if we'll open up lesson page and in Vue DevTools, let's try to get to the component responsible for showing the current lesson page, which is this one. Down here, among all variables defined within this component, we will see lesson variable which holds current lesson object fetched by slug from the address bar. And now that we have the current lesson object, we're gonna have to pass certain properties of this object down to some children components such as playlist lesson video as well as playlist lesson content in order to show proper title and description of the current lesson. So let's check first what we have to show inside playlist lesson video component. As you can see right here, we are referencing title of the lesson. So instead of hardcoding this title, I'm going to define one prop in this component by using define props macro, and the name of the prop will be title, which will be a string. And down here in the template, I'm gonna reference this property. So back to the parent component, and let's pass this new prop called title, which is going to accept title of the current lesson. Now let's open up playlist lesson content component. This component is responsible for showing title and description of the lesson. So in this case, I'm also going to define a couple of props. Let's take this code and paste it into playlist lesson content component. But in this case, we're gonna except two props with names title and description. Both of those props will be strings. And finally, down here within this template, let's interpolate those props. In here, we'll reference title prop, and down here, we'll have to use description prop. And of course, we'll have to pass both of those props into playlist lesson component from the parent component. So I'm gonna pass title and description. Finally, let's make sure that if we're gonna navigate through the lesson pages, we'll see that title and description of lessons will be changing. There you go, as you can see, they are changing. At the end of this lesson, I would like to point your attention to one refactoring opportunity that we can implement in here. Take a look at this expression, which is used to convert the lesson title into slug by simply replacing spaces with dashes in the title. And almost the same logic we are running within get playlist by slug component. In here we're also converting title into this slug by using the same expression, but the thing is that there is a dedicated function we already created before called slugify, which is defined within slugify.ts file that resides within utils folder. So let's just reference this function instead of implementing the same logic over and over again. Right here I'm going to wrap this lesson title into slugify function call to get the slug of the playlist. And let's get back to lessons, store, and do the same in here. In this case, we're gonna call slugify and supply lesson title into this function. And that's about it for this lesson. As I'll be navigating through the lesson pages, we still see that lesson slugs change in the address bar. Link to the source code of this project will be in the video description.